Imagine a city in the middle of the Sahara Desert, a place where caravans traveled for months just to reach it. But they didn't come for gold, they didn't come for spices, they came for books. Hundreds of years ago, the legendary city of Timbuktu became one of the greatest centers of knowledge in the world. At a time when many parts of the world struggled with literacy, Timbuktu was overflowing with scholars, teachers, and libraries filled with thousands of handwritten manuscripts. And yet today, most people barely know this story. So how did a desert city become one of the greatest intellectual centers of the medieval world? And why was its knowledge almost lost forever? To understand that, we have to travel back more than 600 years. In the 14th century, the powerful Mali Empire controlled vast territories across West Africa. Gold flowed through its trade routes, salt caravans crossed the Sahara, and wealth poured into cities like Timbuktu. But Timbuktu's true treasure was not gold, it was knowledge. Students traveled from distant lands to study at the famous Sankore University, one of the oldest centers of learning in Africa. Scholars there studied everything: astronomy, mathematics, law, medicine, philosophy. Some historians estimate that over 25,000 students studied in the city during its peak. Think about that for a moment. In the middle of the Sahara Desert, centuries ago, a city was thriving as a global hub of learning. But the most fascinating part of Timbuktu's story lies inside its libraries. Across the city, families and scholars preserved thousands of handwritten manuscripts. These were not simple notes or scrolls, they were detailed works discussing science, trade, religion, politics, and even medicine. Some manuscripts explained how to calculate complex mathematical problems. Others described astronomical observations, charting stars long before modern telescopes, and many texts discussed laws and ethics that guided society. These manuscripts proved something powerful. Africa was not just a land of trade and kingdoms, it was also a land of scholars and thinkers. During the height of its influence, Timbuktu attracted scholars from across North Africa and the Middle East. Intellectual debates filled the courtyards of universities. Teachers held long discussions under the desert sun. Students copied manuscripts carefully by hand, preserving knowledge for future generations. Owning books became a symbol of status. In fact, in Timbuktu, books were sometimes more valuable than gold. Imagine that, a city where the greatest wealth wasn't precious metal, but ideas. However, Timbuktu's golden age would not last forever. In the late 1500s, the powerful Songhai Empire ruled the region and controlled the city, but in 1591, everything changed. An invading army from Morocco marched across the desert. Armed with gunpowder weapons, they defeated the Songhai forces in a decisive battle. The empire collapsed, and Timbuktu fell under foreign control. Scholars were arrested, libraries were destroyed or abandoned. Many manuscripts disappeared. A city that once stood as a beacon of knowledge slowly faded into silence. Over the centuries that followed, Timbuktu's intellectual legacy seemed to vanish. Historians outside Africa often ignored or underestimated its importance. Some even doubted that such a vibrant scholarly culture had ever existed there. But the truth was still hidden, waiting to be rediscovered. Inside homes, underground rooms, and family collections across the city, thousands of ancient manuscripts remained carefully protected. Generations of families risked everything to preserve them. They hid them during wars, they protected them from looters, or they kept them safe from the harsh desert climate. For centuries, these documents quietly survived. Then in modern times, researchers began uncovering the incredible scale of Timbuktu's lost libraries. Scholars discovered hundreds of thousands of manuscripts scattered across the region, each one telling a story. Some texts discussed astronomy and mathematics. Others described trade networks stretching across Africa and beyond. Many revealed a sophisticated intellectual tradition that had been overlooked for generations. Suddenly, the world began to realize something extraordinary. Timbuktu was not just a trading city. It was one of the great centers of knowledge in human history. But the story wasn't over. In 2012, conflict once again threatened the ancient manuscripts of Timbuktu. Armed groups took control of the city. Many feared the priceless texts would be destroyed forever. So local librarians and families did something incredibly brave. Working in secret, they packed thousands of manuscripts into metal boxes and wooden chests. Then they smuggled them out of the city. Under the cover of darkness, these priceless documents were transported across dangerous roads and rivers. Piece by piece, manuscript by manuscript, they were saved. Because of their courage, hundreds of thousands of ancient texts survived. Today, all of these manuscripts are slowly being restored and studied. They are helping historians understand Africa's intellectual past in ways never imagined before. They reveal that long before colonial narratives reshaped history, Africa had thriving centers of learning. Scholars debated philosophy, students studied science, libraries preserved knowledge that connected Africa to the wider world. And at the heart of that intellectual network stood the legendary city of Timbuktu. The lost libraries of Timbuktu remind us of something powerful. History is not always what we are taught. Sometimes the greatest stories are hidden, forgotten, or ignored. But when we rediscover them, they change how we see the world. And Timbuktu's story is one of those stories, a desert city that once became a beacon of knowledge, a place where books were treasured more than gold, and a reminder that Africa's past holds far more brilliance than many people realize. If you enjoyed uncovering this hidden chapter of history, subscribe to Ancient Whispers for more untold stories from Africa's past.